Okay, I want to talk about how to rear a girl, a daughter, as a single male. I had the wonderful experience of having my wife leave and abandon myself, and more importantly, my daughter, our daughter, when my daughter was just 1 years old. At that time, I was running a business, a mortgage business, and a property management business, and had over 100 units that I was responsible for managing and doing everything that's entailed in that. In addition to the mortgage side of the business, in addition to taking online classes, still working on finishing my degree at that time. And my daughter was just one, okay? And so I instantly had to restructure my life, really abandon my business, so that I could be there for my daughter full time, and all the things and everything, and take care of everything that a 1 year old would need from a nurturing standpoint. So I had to really shift gears from provider. Her mother has the nurturing. And I was always nurturing, but I had to become 100%, mother and father. And this was when she was one. And this continued, the single parenting, until she was 9 years old, which was just a couple months ago. Just a couple months ago, her mother has gotten to a place emotionally and financially to be able to and in addition to wanting to and having what I thought should be a natural desire to rear her daughter, to participate in her daughter's life, to be involved in her daughter's life. She wasn't involved in any capacity for the other until recently. But knowing that my daughter, as any child would want and really yearn for their mother's involvement, their mother's love and affection, especially not having ever had it, I was, once my trust got to a point where I said, yeah, she's going to do right by her, I was more than happy to have my daughter go stay with her, so they can begin the process of building that bond, and my daughter can, and so things are going excellent. I'm happy to report my daughter's just beaming with light, and or our daughter, I should say. I have to get accustomed to even thinking in those terms, but I wanted to, but throughout though, my daughter, one would not know that her mother wasn't present, really. She was always done excellent in school, been very sociable, very nurturing and loving to others. She displays leadership characteristics. She's a leader of whatever little group of her friends that she's with. Like I say, very compassionate, very considerate about others' feelings. Just an all-around, and I know I'm her dad, so of course I'm a little biased, but at the same time, as I've mentioned in other videos, and I really, my bachelor, I have a bachelor's of science in human development with a concentration in psychology. I do have the ability of looking at this from an objective and academic even point of view, and I have to, by every measurable means, she is just a really outstanding little girl. And so I have to be proud of the job that I've done in rearing her and getting her to that point. And I want to share for other single dads out there some of the tools that I used and that I was cognizant about that, some of the ways that I brought my formal education into my parenting of my daughter, that I was able to see tremendous results with. And so these things may apply to single dads or single mom, any single parent rearing a child. It very well could, and it could apply to even boys potentially. But my focus was on rearing my little girl, and so I paid special attention to things that I thought little girls needed. One thing is arbitrary and random and often love bombing. Just arbitrary. And there's scientific reasons behind everything that I have done here. I don't know that I'll have the time to get into the whole scientific reason of every single thing, but as quickly as possible, confidence is in this society is something that for boys, they're socialized to really have it. The society is already set up for them to have plenty of outlets and to be encouraged to be confident, and to really be able to derive and so therefore, not that boys don't need to feel love, they definitely do, but little girls are left especially vulnerable, and really vulnerable for boys to prey on when they don't have when they don't know for sure that they are loved, and especially I would say that their dad loves them. And so I would very often do that. And I think the key is that it's arbitrary, it's random, and it's often love bombing, kisses, hugs, just telling her you love her as often as possible. Also, recognition for jobs well done. We want to really seek out opportunities to recognize our children. I'm sure this is across the board, boy or girl, to say, hey, that was a great job you did. Just any little thing, there's really no little things, they're children. Anything that they do that provides any opportunity to give them positive feedback and recognition, we want to do that. And we want to really diminish chastising them for the things that they do incorrectly. I think that far too often, and I was reared this way by my mother especially, far too often parents are looking for times to correct the child, and they are doing it a lot of times with the best intentions, thinking that this is how you teach. You teach by correction, because this is how we were taught. Nope, don't do that. That's not right. That's not how you do it. You should do it this way. No, you're killing their self-esteem. Okay, these are children. They're exploring their environment. What you think is incorrect can be so correct. You just don't understand that they're making connections, neurological connections, and the only way they can do that a lot of times is by experimentation. And so, because they disturb our perception of order and how things should go, or because they maybe do something that we think is embarrassing, or we think it'll be embarrassing if they do it in front of others, get over yourself. Let your ego go. Your ego is destroying your child. Your ego is the problem most of the time. Most of the time, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's not the child, it's you. So let's find times to recognize them for a job well done multiple times throughout the day. This builds tremendous confidence. Also, having sacred time. And so I have notes here of music, nature walks, swimming, napping together, time when you're not distracted doing one thing over here and the child's over there playing. I heard recently that playgrounds were actually constructed initially, or maybe in some cultures, the idea behind the playground initially, from my understanding, I haven't done much research into this, but I hope it's true. If it's not, it should be this way. It makes sense to me. was for parents to go and play together with the children, you know. And but very often we, especially as fathers, it is a challenge. It is a real challenge, because a little girl, they are going to talk you to death. They're going to talk, daddy, 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 blah, 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 blah. And men, we like to be silent more so than, we're not as communicative. We don't use as many words usually. And that's a challenge. And that's something that I had to realize is a limitation. That's my limitation. She needs that. And I couldn't always give it to her. I had to come up with a thing sometimes and said, hey, let's play quiet time, and so, oh, okay, we're gonna play quiet time. Let's see who can be quiet the longest. I had to come up with all, but as much as possible, we want to engage that. We want to encourage that. We want to understand the nature, and that's what you're dealing with. Is a natural person, a natural human being. Doesn't really err. Nature knows what it's doing. That child is pretty much on autopilot. In other words, her brain is seeking and doing what it needs to develop, and it's only when we stifle that process that we have problems. So, but having the sacred time together, swimming together, napping together, doing these things is going to create a bond and a confidence. And I felt that it was especially important by the mother not being there. That means that you need to heighten your nurturing game. You need to get in contact and touch with your feminine side as much as possible. And that doesn't mean anything other than you are male and female, both. And society rewards you for being very macho and masculine and all, and that's great. And that's who, be a man. But at the same time, the nurturing, you're not going to be able to replace what the mother has to offer, but you have to realize that she's going to need you to be able to be affectionate and to try to fill in those gaps as much as you possibly can for the nurturing, the severe deficit of nurturing that she's missing. Also, in terms of language, oftentimes, and I'm a very literal person. Oftentimes, I like to read words. I like language. I like to hear words being said correctly. And when a child is obviously learning to talk, and even beyond just learning to talk, but talking, they're children. They're 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. We may have a tendency to correct them. Oh, no, that's not how you say that. You say it this way. Oh, no, that's, and we want to limit the correction. Even on that, it may seem like, well, this is going to help them be better in school or whatnot. And if it's blatant, and it's something that we know for sure, just that's okay. But you have to have balance. But as much as possible, you want to realize I'm dealing with a 4th grader. I'm dealing with a 6th grader. That's one of the main problems that parents have, is dealing with their child on the level of that the child is on. We're expecting and demanding for the child to deal with us on the level that we're on. You had your opportunity to be 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old. Don't rob them of their opportunity. They're not supposed to be 35 years old at 6 years old. They're not supposed to say words and sentences like a 35-year-old would. So don't impose, don't superimpose, don't your adultness, if you will, and your education and all of this on the child. Give them an opportunity to learn and to speak like a child. And as long as they're at their level, their grade level, they're doing just fine. You're doing more damage to correct the child oftentimes, because what the child hears more so than, oh, okay, that's how you say that correctly, is I disappointed my dad. I did something wrong. I'm lacking. Maybe I'm not smart. And this starts to bear out in other things that they do.